into this area and lots of different areas is symptom and not the problem. Because when Alan Milburn was in the studio, he told me that the reason this is a more anxious generation is because of phones. It's leading to functional impairment. This is a real thing. It's not a fake thing. And on the social media ban, a blanket ban, by the way, the evidence points in one direction. And I know this is an issue Keir Starmer's bothered about. The question is not, are you bothered? Are you going to do something about it? I mean, Alan Milburn wants, pretty clearly, I think, wants to see a blanket ban on social media for under 16s.
Well, I think, going back to your original question, I think we have to treat both the cause and the symptoms, and so that's why we're providing this mental health support. But you're absolutely right that we can see that there is a driver, and so many parents who've responded to our consultation on social media have said they are deeply concerned about the impact on
social media.
I've met not just families in my constituency, I've met children and young people in my constituency who themselves are asking for help and support. They're saying it's out of control. Children and parents and teachers are saying we want intervention.
Are you in sort of support of a ban?
I would be very pleased to see a ban for under 16s, but I'm not going to pre-announce an announcement. Which I think the consultation has come in. The government is working at pace to absorb all of that. As I said, I was very privileged and honoured, and it was quite overwhelming actually to be in number 10 with some of the families who have had who were victims of various tragic cases around social media, and hearing their testimonies and their pleas for help and support from the government. I know the Prime Minister and Liz Kendall both take this extremely seriously. I know we are on the verge of taking some big action, and I'm really pleased to see that. And I think parents, teachers and children themselves will actually welcome this.
OK, thank you very much, Anne Turley, speaking to us there. Coming up, we are going to be talking to a former Northern Ireland police officer about the disorder that we saw last night.
we saw overnight. But why don't we start with the attack itself?
Well, it was a very vicious, violent attack in a residential area of North Belfast that I know very well. I was the commander there some years ago, and that particular part of Belfast has suffered grievously in terms of violence during the Troubles, and things were certainly getting a lot better. Old army bases are now turned into sports centres and so on. So there's a good news story in that area. But sadly, this very vicious, violent attack has put community tension at a very high level. And of course, it's the police who are trying to deal with sporadic violence that has erupted in the aftermath of that.
Can you talk to us a bit more about the history of the area? As you say, it's an area that you know very well. You talked to us about its suffering during the Troubles. Talk to us a bit more about that.
Well, like a lot of Northern Ireland, particularly Belfast, it's a patchwork of what we call orange and green, those areas that are pro-British unionist and those that are pro-United Ireland nationalist. And in quite a lot of the places, the two communities are living side by side and divided by peace walls, peace lines that still exist. Community relations are always quite fragile in that area. Something like 1 in 7 of all the murders that took place during the dark days of Northern Ireland Troubles happened in that area. So it's a very concentrated area of working class housing. And of course, this particular incident has, in a sense, sparked off the whole debate about housing, employment, how we deal with those who are in social need and so on. So it's a very complex situation. Northern Ireland policing has always been challenging, very complicated, very complex, and this particular issue has just added to that.
Talk to us about your assessment of the protests last night.
Well, peaceful protest is fine. Illegal thuggery, violence is not on. And again, sadly, it's the police who are caught trying to deal with this. I should say I am very impressed by the police restraint, the police tactics at the time, trying to gather evidence. But the reality is the current police service of Northern Ireland is under strength. It's under a lot of challenges, and they cannot simply be everywhere at all times to protect everyone. And sadly, people are taking advantage of that. They're ramping up anti-foreigners' sentiments. And sadly, the most cowardly thuggery is taking place where individual families are being targeted because of the colour of their skin or their ethnicity. And it's a horrible thing to see. And for those of us who were brought up in that area, as I was at East Belfast, to see houses burning, families fleeing, sadly, it brings back memories of the darkest days in Belfast's divided history.
Yeah, you speak so powerfully about it, I have to say. Just talk a bit more about the anti-immigration sentiment that you are talking about there. Has there been, I guess, a rise in those crimes more recently?
Yeah, I mean, as a former police officer, you'll understand that I'm not in any way party political, and I don't really want to get involved into the political arguments about it. But there are those who are pointing out that, for example, Brexit and the situation with the border between this part of the United Kingdom, Northern Ireland, and the Republic of Ireland, which is still part of the European Union, is one issue. That freedom of movement, the common travel area, where people can come from mainland Europe into the Republic of Ireland and into the UK via Northern Ireland. That is an issue. There's an issue around who monitors, who supervises those who are either illegal immigrants, legal immigrants, those asking for political asylum and so on. And of course, they're very genuine refugees who need our care, they need our compassion. There's also a large number of foreigners who have made Northern Ireland their homes, who are contributing to the economy, to the National Health Service. Business entrepreneurs, we had one burned out just a few days ago in a disgraceful scene in the Shankill Road. People who are bringing employment to the area, people who are contributing to the area. So there's a whole complex issue about the social needs, particularly in working class areas of Belfast, and how those of a different ethnicity are being accepted. And as I say, while the police can respond to crime and try to deter crime and try to provide public order and reassurance, they simply cannot be everywhere every time.
Stephen, can we return to the attack itself, and it'd be great if you could reflect for us on the heroism, the bravery that we saw from Matt McKernan and others on the scene. You've commended the police, of course, but particular bravery from a civilian.
Absolutely. And I mean, who is to know what was going through the mind of those individuals who rushed to the rescue of the person being attacked? Now, I don't know, I don't think anyone will know until the case comes to court and the evidence is produced exactly what sparked that violent attack. For anyone witnessing it or anyone seeing it on video, it's horrific. It's very, very vicious, very, very violent, very, very dangerous. So for someone to rush, as they did, to the scene to try to save that man's life, to try to prevent the criminal attack, the violent attack continuing, has to be commended, because they simply didn't know what they were facing. As in other parts, I'm thinking of the attacks on Westminster Bridge in London and so on, those members of the citizenry who respond to help a fellow citizen have to be commended. And sometimes they have to use force, as indeed police officers have to use legal force, proportionate force, to try to deal with the horrors and the dangers they're facing. So, of course, I'll take my hat off to anyone who tries to step in to prevent someone being injured or indeed killed.
Thank you so much. It's been really, really good to get your take on the heroism we've just been speaking about, but also more of an understanding about this particular community where the incident took place. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you. And can I just once again commend those police officers also who are spending all night trying to keep this city safe. Thank you.
Stephen White, former Assistant Chief Constable there, joining us. Our thanks again. Now, it's just over a week to go until the Makerfield by-election, and it's a vote that could have big consequences for the future of the Labour Party. Polls open next Thursday.
Ahead of that, our national correspondent Tom Parmenter has been talking to people to find out what kind of issues they care about most.
Which one do you know that is going to pull Britain back into being Britain?
I think the country's finished. It's a toilet, basically.
You made your mind up?
Oh, absolutely. You know, you could have a gun to me head and I wouldn't vote them.
We're in the constituency of Makerfield. This is a key political battleground, and the result of this by-election could give Britain a whole new look.
Everywhere is in the same situation. We've got gas bills, electric bills that we can't afford to pay, council tax, that is a farce. So someone needs to change that, they need to sort that out.
Do any of the candidates who you've taken any notice of tell you that they're going to do that?
No, not one. I mean, they're saying that they're going to, but they're not going to deliver that.
How many leaflets have you had? Enough to make a small bonfire, that's for sure. This is a tactical vote. I'll definitely vote Burnham. If I thought Green had a chance, I'd be voting Green, but as we are, it's a straight fight.
The mayor...
Do any of the candidates who you've taken any notice of tell you that they're going to do that?
No, not one. I mean, they're saying that they're going to, but they're not going to deliver that.
How many leaflets have you had? Enough to make a small bonfire, that's for sure. This is a tactical vote. I'll definitely vote Burnham. If I thought Green had a chance, I'd be voting Green, but as we are, it's a straight fight.
The mayor...